Blessed awaken, blessed awaken, everyone. Jasmine, Mystic High here with self-realization. And what is self-realization is the question. So, self-realization is really saying that you are the self and you have to realize, because you know how, say myself and self. We're constantly using the word self, but we don't really understand what the self, what is the self. We don't understand what the self is. So we have to come into realization that the self is participating in a dream of its own making. This is first and foremost. This world is a dream, and the self has to come into that realization. It is so imperative, because when you come to that realization that the self is participating in a dream of your own making, then you can see the world, the truth of the world, and not the illusion, because the world is built on illusions, because it's in a dream. So everything that you see is illusionary by nature. So it's like even looking at the sky right now, and you say, oh, the sky is blue, but you know that's really not the truth. This is all an illusion, because science has proven it. You know what I'm saying? So the sky isn't blue, the sun isn't yellow. Look up at the sun. The moon is not a moon. The moon is really a sun too, with its light obscure. So the things that we see are not really what is. So the world, everything is illusionary when we look with our perception, because the eyes that we're seeing with is with the mind, the ego, and it's not looking it from the perception that is looking from is seeing things illusionary. And so once you come into this realization, first and foremost, that the self is participating in a dream of its own making, right? The self is asleep behind the mind and is allowing the mind to be. The self needs to be awakened. The self, which we call the spirit, is a fractal of the soul, and the soul is there in the body, and the soul has taken some of itself, and it's not whole, because it's taken, split itself. I know its other half is the spirit, and the soul is there, and the soul wants to be whole. And this is that yearning that we have. We have that yearning for God. We have that yearning for something else. We're yearning for the soul. The spirit is yearning. The soul is yearning for the spirit. The spirit is yearning for the soul. And so the mind is also yearning, because it is a fractal. It was given from the soul as a diminutive of the consciousness, the soul's consciousness. So it is constantly making false identification. Because first of all, when the self comes into the body, it went to sleep when it comes into the world. And for all the lifetimes of every form, starting from one cell to what you have become now, to evolve to this human being. When the cells came to this human being level and it opened its eyes, it makes false identification. Every form that the self goes into, the mind think that if you come as a cockroach, it sees a cockroach, say, oh, I am a cockroach. So it cannot see the true self. It cannot see the energy that's beyond it, that is permeating, that's allowing the life to be. That's the true self. So the mind already claimed this body as itself, and is afraid that it's going to die. So we have to give up that ego. So return it back to the soul. The soul is longing, the mind is longing. So the mind have to come into this realization that it is not the true self, that it's a fractal of the consciousness, and that the self is behind it. So it has to go looking and seeking to find the self, to know the truth about this, itself and this existence. And so that's what self-realization is. And we have to do that. The only way that we are going to shatter all the illusions and be able to see life the way it is, and so forth. So What is self-realization? The self has to come to realize that it is a participant in a dream of its own making. The world is a dream. It's being dreamt up, and everything is being manifesting from the consciousness, which is the dark matter, magnetic energy. They're magnetic particles that are fusing together to create this life, and we think that everything is solid, but because the magnetic energy is fusing together, it creates the illusion of all this solid form that we are and everything that's solid here. So let's dive in the self and come to that realization. Come to the realization that the self is a participant in a dream of its own making. You are dreaming. You came into the world dreaming, sleeping, and you have to wake up. So this is what the self-realization. You have to realize that you are the Supreme Self, fractalized into this experience, and need to be awakened. So I want to thank you for joining me today. This is Jasmine, the Mystic Eye, with question. It has been self-realization. May all beings be free. May all beings be happy. May all beings be liberated. May all beings know thyself. Come into self-realization. Thank you so much for joining me.